Good morning and welcome to Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Let's get started first with the Vanguard newspaper. As a major headline on Vanguard, it says, armed herders, Boko Haram kill soldiers, others in Benue, Borno. You can find the story on page 5. Women protest the fresh killing of 3 by herdsmen in Yelawata, block Makodi Lafia Road. Boko Haram attacks military formation in Borno, kill 2 soldiers. NAF airstrikes kill scores of terrorists in Zamfara. US calls for coordinated response against Boko Haram, ISIS and other terrorist group. Report of attacks on troops in Kirawa fake, says theater commander. Bottom headline says, Unruly Ibom Air passenger charged to court, remanded in Kirikiri prison. EFCC grills ex-Sokoto governor Tambuwal over alleged 189 billion naira fraud. Or Catholic Church attack, 5 remanded in DSS custody. You can find this story on page 10 of the Vanguard newspaper. Trump to meet with Putin Friday, promises to get back territory for Ukraine. Top banner right corner says, attack on Tinubu, NYSC certificate or not, my life is great, says Ushei. The story can be found on page 6 of the Vanguard newspaper. Hunger, poverty beyond mere statistics in Nigeria, Obi says. Story can be found on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. Kwam 1, value jet saga, industry divided over suspension of pilots. Story can be found on page 9 of the Vanguard newspaper. And lastly, Nigeria's non-oil exports jumped nearly 20% in H125 on cocoa urea demand. You can find the story on page 19 of the Vanguard newspaper. Away from the Vanguard, straight into the Punch. Major headline on the Punch says, panic in ADC as EFCC goes after key members. EFCC grills coalition member Tambuwal over 189 billion fraud. Insist on probe. Key coalition members push it back as anti-graft body summons 3 ex-governors. Tabana says World Bank approves fresh 12.98 trillion naira loans to Nigeria in 2 years. Government wants 3,598 records of dismissal, others fresh verification. IG extends tinted glass permit enforcement to October 2nd. Lower banner says 5 face trial over 2022 or church terror attack. Ibom Air passengers remanded ignites selective justice uproar. Away from the Punch, let's take a look into the Nation newspaper. Major headline on the Nation says, EFCC detains Tambuwal over suspicious withdrawal of 189 billion naira. Top banner says 5 arraigned over 2022 or Catholic Church terror attack. 1.91 million apply for 30,000 jobs in paramilitary agencies. Federal government reconstitutes boards of FCC, HYREP. Ogun government Daniel roll over land escalates. And on the front page of the Guardian it says, glitches extortion as police insist on new tinted permit shift deadline. Top banner says competent leadership reduced Argentina's poverty rate from 52% to 38.1% in 2 years, says Obi. Reaction shows sanctions remand of unruly air passengers. Federal government decries rising cases. Lower banner says ADC accuses EFCC of witch hunt as Tambuwal held over alleged 189 billion naira breach. That's what we have on the front page of the newspapers this morning. Join us after the break for a quick analysis of some of our top stories. Welcome back. If you're just joining us, this is Today in the News here on Vanguard Live. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Joining me in the studio today is Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher Ikajajari today, Lekki today, and Ilupeju today. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Ololade. Good morning to all our viewers.
I look into a top story for today. A passenger Comfort Emerson assaulted Ibom Air crew and clashed with airport staff at Lagos Murtala Mohammed Airport Terminal 2 after refusing to turn off her phone prior to takeoff. She has been charged in Ikeja Magistrate Court on multiple counts of assault, disorderly conduct, property damage per fan bylaw, and Lagos Criminal Code. She has also been remanded in Kirikiri maximum prison until October 6th, 2025. I look into the charges and legal actions, taken against Emerson. She was remanded for nearly 2 months. What does this say about the Nigerian aviation law? And being the fact that she's a first timer, does this, count, or this charge actually count in this case?
In aviation matters, there are no second chances. Aviation does not forgive mistakes. I mean, it's a very safety conscious industry, and infractions are not well tolerated at all. You can understand why. I mean, the lives of several hundred people are at risk with any mishap or any, so they're very, very sensitive to any disruption whatsoever, any chaos, any disagreements, anything that could disrupt or jeopardize safety is frowned upon. So when you have an unruly passenger, whether in the air, on the ground, even in the boarding process, any misbehavior whatsoever, no matter how minimal, is frowned upon because all of you can have an impact on safety and the lives of people. It's not to be tolerated at all. So the fact that she got that disorderly, that irate, we don't know what triggered. We've heard all kinds of stories, but we've not heard from her. She'll have her day in court to tell her side of the story. But whatever may have provoked her should never have provoked her to the degree that she became unruly, disruptive, and destructive. So, as far as I'm concerned, the charges are in order because, first of all, if you even raise your hand to strike a fellow man, that's assault under the criminal code. Part of the report saying she damaged part of the aircraft. She tried to use a fire extinguisher to hit somebody. We could see her kicking people, all kinds of. I think she actually needs a mental evaluation. I think the two months period before the next court date, they should actually seek a psychiatric evaluation because maybe she's not all right. And if she's not all right, perhaps it shouldn't be dealt with as a criminal matter per se if she's not of competent mind because I don't really think that anybody in their right senses would have gone to that extreme, no matter how provoked they were, because it could have had an effect on the safety of the overall airline. Now, having said that, I think that she was not treated well. I think the security team and members of the airline could have been more circumspect in how they dealt with her. I think they need more training. I don't think they handled the situation properly. And I think that she probably has cause for redress in terms of she will be charged criminally by the state. But I think she can also charge the airline civilly for damages.
Okay, so let's look at the fact that the footage of exposing sensitive parts were actually released by some staff of Ibom Air. Should there be legal consequences, or what kind of if consequences should be given to the media or staff responsible for this?
Absolutely, the person should be sanctioned because, first of all, it's a violation of privacy. Secondly, it's not everything that happens in the workplace that we must publicize. I mean, because everybody that has a smartphone is a journalist now, everybody wants to capture and sensationalize things and be the first breaking news, the first person to post stuff. But we don't realize that many of the people who are doing this are not trained journalists, so they don't understand the ethics of journalism. If this was a professional journalist that took the video, there's no way in the world they would have released it to the general populace. Maybe they would have kept it as evidence for the courts so that when she's filing her civil suit, she can show how she was manhandled. So the recording of the incident in and of itself is in order because that video is evidence. But releasing it to the public was totally inappropriate. And whoever did that should not only be found but be sanctioned. And obviously, it had to have been a member of staff either of Ibom Air or one of the fan members of staff, people who are attending to that situation immediately. The first video we saw was definitely not a passenger from the angle it was taken and from the people who are involved in the altercation at that moment. It was clear that it was a member of staff. And I'm sure that there's a digital footprint that can trace back to the originator of the video. And I think there should be an investigation and the person should be taken up, not necessarily on charges, but on an administrative query because I'm sure when they were employed, they were told that there are certain things that are right and that are not right in terms of what an employee can do and cannot do in terms of their customers. That was a violation of the lady's privacy. It was indecent exposure to the public. I mean, there are little children who saw that video. that it's inappropriate for them to be seeing body parts of an adult, a mature female. And that's an embarrassment to her that she may never live down, because that video will be circulating on the internet. The internet never forgets anything. So that video will be there for ever and ever. How do you expect her children to feel when she gets married and has her own children, that there's a video of their mother showing her mother's nudity? So it was absolutely inappropriate, and I hope the appropriate, the staff member or whoever it was that was responsible for not just shooting the video but for releasing it on social media, I hope the person is found and punished.
So, Peter Obi claimed the action against her was a display of double standards, especially in contrast to the Fuji star Wasiu Ayinde and how he was treated. Do you agree with this? What can you say about this?
Well, it shows that our justice system is a bit warped, and you look at the Wasiu Ayinde. I've listened to both sides of the argument. Some people are saying, well, Wasiu Ayinde was not on board. He didn't really jeopardize the actual flight, even though he obstructed the movement of the plane and things like that. That his offense was less severe. That this lady, although there are some people who argue that his offense was more severe because he interrupted a flight about to depart. He risked the lives of those who are on the ground and maybe those who are in the air as well. But let's not put it on a scale and try to determine who is more guilty than who. The question is the justice system approaching both of them fairly? Now, I've heard a fan official or one of the regulators say that ValueJet chose not to sue Wasiu Ayinde while Ibom Air chose to sue the lady. That is absolutely erroneous. And if that is the case, it is reprehensible, because airline safety is an issue for the regulator. It doesn't matter. The airline wanted to sue. The only thing the airline can sue the girl for is damaging their property. Anything relating to the safety of the passengers, the assault is an offense against the state, not against the individual. So it is the commissioner of police that's going to charge the girl for assaulting the staff. The airline has nothing to do. The airline doesn't have the wherewithal to charge the girl for assault. That's the commissioner of police. Once a complaint is filed that I was assaulted, the commissioner of police, on behalf of the state, will charge the girl for assault, for disorderly conduct, for all the criminal acts she committed within that small space, right? It is the commissioner of police that will charge her. The airline only has the power to charge her for damaging its property, and that's a civil matter. That you damage our seats, you damage that this, you damage that we want money from you. That's a civil matter. Then, in the Wasiu Ayinde issue, ValueJet had no remit to charge him for anything. If anybody was going to charge him for anything, it would be found and will report him to the Attorney General, which they have done. ValueJet does not have the authority to charge him because they are not law enforcement. So the question is, what law did he break? He impeded the progress of a flight. According to aviation law, it's possible, could have even been a hijacking, according to the letter of the law, right? I don't believe he lifted his hand and slapped anybody. The only thing that he probably did that violated criminal law was, I hear he tossed the contents of his flask in the face of the pilot. That pilot has the wherewithal to file a complaint with the police that was an assault, depending on if maybe the content entered her eyes, she has the right to complain to the police. She can also sue Ayinde civilly for damages if she had medical bills, or if maybe she got injured by the content of the flask or whatever. But for Ayinde to be charged with criminal misconduct, that is for the police. And the fan, not being a law enforcement agency, they've reported the matter to the Attorney General and the IGP for investigation, for possible prosecution. Because remember now, with the girl, there's video, there's physical evidence, there's everybody there seeing it. With Kwamwan's own, there has to be an examination of the law, because the two circumstances are not exactly the same. What law prohibits what Kwamwan did? We already know what law prohibits what the girl did. Assault, number one, you slap somebody. Number two, you kick somebody. Number three, you were unruly disrupting. What law? They have to go through the aviation books and find the law that prohibits what Kwamwan did, then examine the evidence to see if there's probable cause to believe he violated that law. That's why you hear a lot of times they say, oh, we're waiting for advice from the DPP. whether this case is prosecutable or not. In the girl's case, it was blatant what she did that she can be prosecuted. In Kwamwan's case, it was not so blatant in terms of the law guiding the conduct relating to hindering the movement of a flight in process. So his situation and the girl's situation are not analogous. His has to go through a slightly different process. Now, once the Attorney General has completed his investigation and made his determination, he can then be picked up and charged to court and given bail. Remember, this lady was given bail. She could meet the shorty. If her shorties turn up, she won't be locked up till October 2 if she's able to meet the bail conditions. So once Wasiu is charged to court, so all I will say is admonish the Attorney General and the IGP to speed up their investigation. So that if it's chargeable, because it looks like a double standard, but I'm arguing that it's not necessarily a double standard. It just has to go through different processes to get to the point of prosecution. And this one has a more convoluted route to go before it can be determined if it will go to the court, whereas the girl's one is straightforward. So I would just admonish the authorities to speed up their investigation, determine if it's chargeable. If it's chargeable, go ahead, charge him, take him to court. Court will determine if he is entitled to bail or if he should be remanded.
Let's look at the preventive measures so that cases like this would not happen over time, at least reduce. Incidents like this will be reduced. What are the preventive measures that would help, both FAN and the aircraft brand as well?
Well, if you look recently, we've had a spate of these incidents. They started with Adams Oshiomhole a few months ago. Then we had Kwamwan last week. We have this girl this week. So it seems as if it's starting to become
rampant.
Rampant. Now, we are still lucky that all these things are happening while the plane is on the ground. Can you imagine if it's in the air and it's in flight and a disruption or a fight occurs? It can actually affect the safety of the flight, the controls, the pilots. It can jeopardize human lives. So this kind of thing should not be taken lightly at all. I would like to see all three of them prosecuted and punished, even beginning with the senator, to send a message to people that you can't mess around aviation. You have to be on the strictest best behavior possible anytime you are around any aviation facility, aviation resource, aviation equipment. You have to be, because aviation does not forgive the slightest little mistake, and there are so many lives involved. One hot-headed person can ignite a fuse that can affect several hundred lives in a split second. So we can't afford to risk human lives to the slightest little tantrum. So preventative measures is sending a message that we won't tolerate any misbehavior, and the way to do it is you have 3 scapegoats right now. Use them to send a message that we won't tolerate. You can't do this. You can't. So I would say throw the hammer at those 3 people. Let the world see, and do it publicly, not behind closed doors. Don't sweep it under the ground where we won't hear anything again after a few. Do it publicly. Let the public see the 3 of them punished. For the girl, like I said, let her do a hard criminal time, but let her sue the airline for dehumanizing her. So she will pay a criminal penalty by doing jail time, but she will make to say, and Kwamwan apologized, but the apology to me does not. Apologies do not forgo consequences. There must be consequences for bad behavior. Apology showing remorse is good, but it does not cancel out the act. You still have to pay the penalty. You said you are sorry. That's the noble and honorable thing to do, but it doesn't excuse you from paying the price for what you did wrong. So his apology is good. It goes to show he's remorseful. It means we can forgive. But when we forgive, we're not forgetting. And the aspect of not forgetting means you have to pay the price. Do you understand? So deterrence is the best, because regulators put all the steps in place. That's why they have the scanners in the airport to scan your body to make sure. That's why they have drug sniffing dogs. They've done everything that they, even after you've gone through the scanner in the airport, when you get to the mouth of the plane, they will still use this scanner again a second time. So what more do you want them to do? I bet you we start doing psychiatric evaluation for people before they buy tickets to know that they are sane and they won't disrupt the flight in flight. So I would say the best bet is deterrence. Let us punish those who have offended and punish them publicly, so that everybody knows that this kind of behavior won't be tolerated.
Away from that, into a second story, former Sokoto State Governor and current Senator Aminu Waziri Tambuwal was grilled by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC over allegations of fraudulent cash withdrawals totaling 189 billion naira during his tenure as governor. The withdrawals are suspected to violate the Money Laundering Prevention and Prohibition Act 2022. What is the EFCC's standard process when it brings in a former governor for interrogation? Is voluntary appearance followed by detention common in such high-profile cases?
Well, they will give him administrative bail. It's not that they detained him; it's that they are still questioning him overnight. They haven't finished the questions, and they can't let him go home until finish. But because somebody goes to EFCC's office and doesn't come out 2 hours later, we assume he's been detained. But in most cases, they are still just asking questions. Then they take a break, give him some water. If it lasts into the night, they may let him take a nap. Then they continue the next morning. Then they let him go on what is called administrative bail. Generally, that means that administrative bail means that EFCC is saying, go and continue your life. We will call you back when we are ready. They have not charged him to court yet, so it's not a court giving him bail. It's EFCC saying, okay, we've heard everything you've told us. Let's go and look at your matter further. Like, look at 189 billion naira. What can anybody do with that kind of money? First of all, how do you even carry? They say you would do it in cash. How do you carry 189 billion? You probably need about 10 billion vans to carry that kind of money because it's a lot. 189 billion. That's 189 million. How do you carry it? And what do you do with it? How many houses, how many cars? What do you, so there's got to be an explanation. Even if he withdrew it in cash, he must have had something substantive to do with it. The issue about Tambuwal and the EFCC is everybody's questioning the timing. Okay, so he's been out of office, even from Speaker of the House. He's been out of office as governor of Sokoto State. He's now a serving senator, right? The things he's been accused of doing now happened many years ago. Why now? And all of a sudden, there's rumors saying, oh, is it because he identified with the ADC and is part of the opposition? So is this a political witch hunt? Well, I remember when President Obasanjo set up the EFCC in early 2000, 2001. That was what the cry of everybody was that, whoever is in power is going to use this agency to witch hunt political opponents. And President Obasanjo said, no. But could that be what's happening now? The bottom line is the administration has the power to use the EFCC to actually go after political opponents. But the other side of the coin of that is, if he took 189 billion of public money, should he not be investigated and brought to book? So, hey, this is politics. The issue of, is it a political witch hunt, is irrelevant if he actually did this. If he did this, the fact that some administration is questioning him now does not take away from the fact that he should answer for whatever he did wrong, if he did do it wrong. So the timing is irrelevant. There is no statute of limitations on theft of the public commonwealth. Anytime the issue comes up, you should answer for it. If you didn't do it, come and say you didn't do it, bring your evidence. If you did do it, then return the money and pay the price for stealing it and depriving the people who could have benefited from it. So that issue of political wish or look, in politics, when it's your turn, you seize the moment, you take advantage of your power. You decimate the opposition. It's done in every climb. Look at in America now, the Republicans are they're dealing with the Democrats, even about to take them to court over issues of gerrymandering, which is beyond the scope of this program. But when you're in politics and you're in a position of power, you deploy that power to the detriment of your opponent. That's how the game is played. So if you have the EFCC as a tool that you can use to disembowel your opponent and weaken them, you will do that. So if he's not guilty, then they'll find him not guilty and you haven't gained anything.
Let's look at the past record of the state and the governor as well. Given Sokoto State recognition by the World Bank for fiscal transparency and the establishment of independent procurement and audit bodies, how do these allegations affect public trust in such institution?
Well, what the World Bank said basically is giving him a pass mark in terms of transparency, accountability, that during his tenure, he did well. He didn't steal money. He did this, he did that, right? But our own local enforcement as here on ground here said they have credible evidence that he stole money. Listen, it's still an allegation. No? That's why they say come and answer questions. They are not saying they are 100% sure that you took it. They are saying we suspect you took it. So before we go and charge you in court, let us discuss, because maybe you didn't do this. And of course, they'll be looking at this World Bank report that's saying that he ran a credible administration. They'll be thinking, well, maybe there's an explanation. Maybe they wanted to do conditional cash transfer. Remember better I do with the Ministry of Humanitarian, whatever I said. They drew money and put it in the account of one of the staff of the ministry because they can't be doing transfer of 5,000 to 1 million people. So maybe something like that happened to where they did COVID relief and we're doing palliatives and we're giving conditional cash transfer and it had to be cash because people in the rural area of Sokoto, they are unbanked. So how are you going to send them money if you want? So maybe there's a logical explanation. See, that is why in jurisprudence, you are believed innocent until proven guilty. You have the right to defend yourself and to explain what happened. And that's what's going on now. EFCC has not said he did it. They said they suspect that he may have done this. So it's up to the EFCC to prove that, and part of proving that is sitting down with him and asking him questions. Okay, we saw this 189 billion withdrawal. Come and explain it. If he explains it properly, then there's no case.
Does this case in any way highlight systemic weaknesses in the EFCC, being that when it was a governor, these allegations were not worked on as at that time?
Well, when you're a governor, you have immunity, so they can't really do anything to you at that point in time. But the weakness I see with the EFCC and law enforcement in Nigeria in general is that we react first and think later. I believe that an arrest should not even be made or an invitation until you've already completed your investigation. I don't think you should be inviting anybody to come to you. I don't think you should be. It's a knee-jerk reaction to bring people in advanced democracies. By the time they come to you and say you have questions to answer, they've already completed your case. In fact, just throw away the key. They've locked you up already. Before they come to you, they have already piled evidence. They've interviewed witnesses. They've gone to a grand jury who has heard the charges and believes that is strong enough for them to make a case. They don't come and arrest you while they are still investigating. This is a big problem I have with the FCC and the law enforcement space in sector in general. Is that they jump before they are fully prepared, and that's why many people get off the cases. That's why many people are acquitted, because preparation is ill. They are ill prepared. They don't investigate thoroughly enough. They now come and arrest you without enough evidence, without enough witness statements, without enough corroboration, without all the things that they need. Then after they've arrested you, they now start trying to make a case against you. That's putting the cart before the horse, as far as I'm concerned. So that's the major systemic weakness, is that their investigative prowess needs to be improved.
Thank you very much for joining us today.
My pleasure always.
That was Mr. Dayo Akintobi, publisher Ikeja GRA today, Lekki today, and Ilupeju today. That will be all on the shoot for today. Make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms as seen on your screen and on our website at www.vanguardngr.com. My name is Ololade Adeomi. Have a lovely day.